We are going to start our session very soon. All are requested to stay connected.
Anu, I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Probably DG sir have joined, then we could start the program, right?
Yes, sir. Shall I start the program, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. Our honorable guest has also joined, no?
Yes, sir. He has also joined, sir.
We can start.
I request all the participants to please switch off your mics and cameras. It's my humble request to all the participants, please switch off your mics and cameras off. Good afternoon, one and all. On behalf of Rashtriya Ayurved Vidyapeeth, myself, Dr. Anu Ruhila, welcomes you all in the webinar series exploring the facts post-COVID-19 sequelae and Unani medicines. COVID-19 has become a major burden on public health and its development of risk of long-term health problems as complications. These complications
Dr. Anu? Dr. Obed?
Hello, yes, sir.
Probably she got disconnected. So, I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Welcome from RAV. This is Dr. Anupam Srivastav, Director RAV. Welcome you all on the again series of the exploring the fact, the post-COVID-19 sequela and the Unani medicine, the role of Unani medicine. Friends, we all are aware about the COVID. It doesn't require any introduction, and we are fortunate enough, at least in a major part of the country, the wave of the COVID is now appearing to regressing. And the plateau, hopefully, and we should wish the plateau has come. And definitely, once the COVID downs, when the number of the infectivities goes down, when there are the less infected people, then the question will again come how to manage the post-COVID complications arise due to medicine, arise due to disease, and so many things due to self-own body response also. In this scenario, when the contemporary science, which is we should appreciate, it is leading. We should appreciate clearly it is leading, and they are managing. We are also working in the same field. That the contemporary science does not have much more to offer in post-COVID scenario or post-COVID condition, whereupon the role of the Ayush medicines comes in a bigger way. We the Ayush experts, with all of our medicine, all our the rehabilitatory processes, with all our the adjuvants, with all our this thing OTC products, and we could manage the disease in a better way, in a better fashion, and which could be also good for the body. Today, we are not going in detail. Today, we are fortunate that we are the Ministry of Ayush, the senior officers of the Ministry of Ayush has given an opportunity to RAV to conduct the series of the webinar under the name, under the banner of exploring the facts, particularly the COVID. I am thankful to our Honorable Secretary, sir, Ved Rajesh Kotecha, sir, our Special Secretary, Shri Pramod Kumar Pathak, sir, our JSP NRK, sir, Joint Secretary, Shri P. Ranjit Kumar, sir, Advisor Manoj Nesi, sir, and all the other senior officers of the Ministry of Ayush who has given us a chance, who have been mentoring of all this activity. I am also welcome and thank to the media people who are also promoting this our initiative, especially Sanjay Ji. So we are again, probably this is the fourth webinar series on exploring the fact, whereupon we will look forward the interventions, interventions or the what advices we could do through Unani system of the medicine, which is one of the notified, codified system in the country, and which is quite popular in a Middle East and South Asian countries. And it has so many linkages or sometimes synonyms like Arab medicine, Greco-Arab medicine. Basically, we all know very briefly. I'm not expert, but what I have learned from our Unani friends, yes, it originated from the Greek around 2,500 years back. And basically, this theory, this most based on the Hippocrates principle. Hippocrates says that the disease is a natural process, and it provokes, it advocates the humoral theory. Definitely, Unani also focuses on the humoral theory, and the most important principle, to best of my understanding, is a mizaj or the temperament, which classify human body, diets, and medicine into 4 different qualitative hot, dry, hot, wet, cold, dry, and cold, wet. This could be this tentative classifications as per the mizaj of the mizaj. And also there are several factors, natural factors are there as per the Unani medicine. Humorals are there, dam, balgam, safa, and all that. This basically Unani supports, Unani advocates. Disease is a basically imbalance between the mizaj and akhlaq, which is said, it's stated in our Unani system of medicine. Not wasting the time, not being the expert of the Unani medicine. We are fortunate enough that the DG CCREM Professor Asim Ali Khan, who is a renowned researcher, and he is a legend in the Unani field of the medicine. He is available on the request of RAV and the request of our participants. He has spared his time for his opening remark. Before we invite our honorable experts to deliver the lecture, I will request Professor Asim Ali Khan for his opening remarks. Once after that, we will request our honorable speaker. Over to you, Professor Asim Ali Khan, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum and namaskar to all. Thank you so much, Dr. Anupam, and I really congratulate you and your team that very successfully you're organizing these series of webinars on the COVID, understanding of COVID and managing COVID as good as possible by our Ayush fraternity, as you all are seeing. I'm also equally thankful, as you suggested, that the leadership in Ministry of Ayush by Honorable Secretary and Special Secretary Sahib and Joint Secretary Sahib and the media cell, that they provided this opportunity and platform for all Ayush fraternity to do a lot of activities, to do service, whether this is distribution of I-64 or doing researches or clinical researches or clinical researches or services to the nation. I think this is a wonderful opportunity being provided to all of us. So thanks to the leaders there in the ministry. As we all know that this COVID, as Dr. Anupam is also suggesting, and we are seeing the declining trends, but still it is creating a lot of havoc in some parts of not only in our country, but some parts of the world, though it is declining. And while we all at the Ayush Ministry and all of our Ayush fraternity is trying to assist as much as possible in while creating the immunity boosting techniques, or by giving regimens, or by providing certain medicines which have been found in collaboration with researchers with ICMR and CSIR like Ayush-64. And these days the Ayush-64 distribution is also going on in different parts of the country with the team Seva Bharti and our all national institutions and research council peripheral institutions in the country. And a very mega concern it is there, and in a very mega level we are distributing these days the Ayush-64 medicine to assist the people who are asymptomatic or who are suffering with mild to moderate COVID disease. So a lot of activities are going on. Many activities under the patronage and leadership of Ministry of Ayush we have done in councils and national institutions. Some of the studies which are population-based studies, some studies are preclinical, some are clinical studies, and some studies population-based we did for, and we also distributed a lot of immunity-enhancing medicines and regimens which are found to be very useful. The results of them, some are out, some are getting published, and very encouraging results we are seeing, and we hope that very soon we would be able to share the results of those studies with the people. In Unani system also, we have done many studies during this period. Some population-based studies, almost 40,000 patients, where 20,000 patients were the patients, intervention group, and 20,000 were the control group. We also did certain studies, in silico studies, to find out the effects of it, and some also we did some adjuvant therapies within the COVID declared hospitals. One such research activity is still under process, is going on the progress, that is in Safdarjung Hospital. So a lot of activities in Unani system of medicine, like other Ayush systems, are happening. And as very rightly Dr. Anupam also mentioned, that since cases are declining and many patients luckily are improving and have come out safely from the COVID hands and COVID jaws. So now the issue is that in post-COVID also certain health concerns are there, and which is really disturbing in some patients. Generally also in some patients, some organs are also getting involved. So this is the concern where we as Ayush have to step in, and all our systems have wonderful therapies and regimens to offer to such patients. Similarly, Unani system of medicine also has many things to offer. And this is our duty also, and that we provide assistance to the people who have the post-COVID issue concerns. And two ways we can do: the people who have developed certain issues, unfortunately, though, we have to give them certain support and regimen, health support. And those patients who are just post-COVID, we have to give some rehabilitative regenerative therapies in a way that they don't develop that kind of complications, or if there are, we can mitigate them, or we can reduce them, impact of them, or severity of them. So many things could be added into that post-COVID management also. So today's webinar is a very apt topic of looking at the post-COVID sequelae and Unani medicine, how Unani medicine can help into managing the post-COVID sequelae and post-COVID affairs. Today we have one of my colleagues, Dr. Munawar, Professor Munawar. He is the director in Hyderabad. We have a national institution there in skin disorders. Dr. Munawar is a learned colleague, and I hope that Dr. Munawar, while presenting his regimens and his ideas during this lecture today, I hope this is going to benefit our colleagues in Ayush in different parts of the country, particularly the Unani people, that how to manage the post-COVID. We also have to be very careful that we have not to make tall claims during managing the COVID or post-COVID things. Whatever are the guidelines, whatever the references, whatever the experiences are available, I think we have to restrict to them. A lot of things are there to offer. So while taking caution that we will try to do our best and try to provide the best of the treatment, the right management to the people, not taking much time. I hope that Dr. Munawar's presentation will be very elaborate and will be helping today to our colleagues in understanding that how we can manage the post-COVID concerns, health concerns of our people, our population in the country and beyond the country borders. Thank you very much. Again, congratulate Dr. Anupam Sahib. Thank you, sir, very much for giving me this opportunity and managing and organizing this webinar series. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your remarks and sparing the time. Over to you, Anu, for a brief introduction of today's experts. Over to you, Dr. Anu.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Professor Munawar Hussain Kazmi is an Unani physician scientist with a career span of more than 35 years. He holds MD degree in Ilmul Adwiya, that is Unani pharmacology, from Mumbai University, and has undertaken multiple research projects in area of drug development. He is presently serving as director of National Research Institute of Unani Medicines for Skin Disorders, Hyderabad. He is also deputy director in charge of Central Research Institute of Unani Medicines under CCRUM, Ministry of Ayush. He was honored with CCRUM Appreciation Award for dedication towards research work in 2017, Appreciation Award for services in development of Unani medicines by Bose Ayurvedic Hospital in Sri Lanka. Sir has also received 7th Hakim Ahmed Ashraf Memorial Global Award by Hakim Ahmed Ashraf Memorial Society, Hyderabad in 2015. Sir has also published a book with title Aromatherapy with Rose Oil and also contributed in chapters in number of other books. Sir has also published more than 70 research papers in various separate journals. With this brief introduction of the speaker, I request Professor Munawar Hussain Kazmi sir to start with his deliberation. Over to you, sir.
Is my first slide visible, sir?
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, please,
Director,
can you please put it in full screen mode, sir?
okay. Is it okay now? Is it visible?
Not yet, sir.
फुल स्क्रीन पर विजिबल नहीं है। नहीं, यहाँ पर तो है, वहाँ पर नहीं। मैडम, इज इट visible on full screen? Hello.
No, sir, not yet, sir.
करके फिर रीलोड करके देखें।
Yes, sir, now it's visible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, Director General Professor Asif Sahib and Director of Rashtriya Ayurvedic Vidyapit Delhi, Professor Anupam Srivastava as Anupam Srivastava, sir. Srinivas. First of all, let me thank the Government of India, the Secretary to Government of India, Professor Rajesh Kotacha ji, Shri Pramod Kumar Pathak ji, Special Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Ayush, Shri P.N. Ranjit Kumar ji, Joint Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Ayush, Professor Manoj Nesari sir, Advisor to Government of India, Ministry of Ayush, and Director Srinivas sir, Rashtriya Ayurvedic Vidyapit Delhi, Government of India, for giving me an opportunity to talk about the post-COVID sequelae and its treatment with Unani medicine. This is the photograph of the SARS virus. RNA, it is RNA virus. So we can see that it enters the host cell through interaction of its spike. We are seeing here. They are made up of protein with the entry of receptor ACE2 in the presence of TMPR SS2. Proposed mechanism of the for COVID-19 caused by infection with the SARS-CoV-2 include direct virus mediated damage, dysfunction of the RAS as the sequence of the download of ACE2 related to viral entry. So the third slide I should show the this is the entry of the virus in the presence of ACE inhibitor 2, as well as secondly we require the TMPR SS2. So these are the two factors responsible for the entry of the virus into the cell. So either the damage by the virus is direct, or the dysregulation of RAS as the sequence to down regulation of ACE2 related to the viral entry, which lead to the decrease in the cleavage of the angiotensin 1 and angiotensin 2. Endothelial cell damage and thromboinflammatory and dysregulation of immune response and hyperinflammation caused by the inhibition of the interferon signaling by virus, T cell lymphodepletion and the production of the pro-inflammatory cytokinin, particularly IL-6 and TNF-alpha. So this actually secretion of the cytokinin make and cycle the damage of the damage to the cell further signals the pro-inflammatory cytokinins, and in this way there is a circle and there is a storm of the cytokinin which elevates the so many inflammatory marker, and there is a inflammatory changes in different organs. So this is the pathway, and the same I have explained that how this cytokinin it is a procoagulates even the interleukin 6 and interleukin 7, which are the ultimately which are the pro-inflammatory, and the cytokinin itself. So they are the procoagulants also. So in this way, by various pathway, they cause an endothelial cell dysfunction and leading to the thrombosis, vasoconstriction, later on fibrosis, inflammation, and later on fibrosis. So the pulmonary, as far as the pulmonary function, these functions are concerned, we all know that there is decrease in the total volume of the total vital capacity of the lungs. The peak flow of the lung is decreased, and in this way the capacity, we can say ultimately that the capacity to breathe is decreased due to the pneumonitis, or first due to the damage or necrosis of the cell by the virus directly itself, and then if there is any inflammation, then due to the inflammation there is damage to the alveoli, and the interchange, the vessel of the microvessels of the alveoli, which function as a exchange for the take-up of the oxygen and the excretion of the carbon dioxide. So that function is hampered and decreased. So, but even the extrapulmonary manifestations are there, because there is inflammatory process is there, thrombosis is there, DIC, disseminated intravascular clotting is there. So this lead to the inflammation and the dysfunction at different places, particularly the inflammatory changes. So the pulmonary, apart from the pulmonary changes, there is extrapulmonary changes that may cause the tissue injury, inflammation, vasoconstriction, and even the vascular permeability, which may lead to the hemorrhage, but particularly if the skin is there, peritonial hemorrhage, and other, even in the internal hemorrhage. So in this way, we see the this physiopathology of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So we can say that definitely these changes cannot be reversed within the 2 week or 3 week. So further, the extrapulmonary manifestations and thromboembolism in the deep vein DVT there, as far as the cardiac system is cardiovascular system is concerned, there may be injury to the myocardium leading to the myocarditis, and cardiac arrhythmia maybe due to myocarditis or other or the inflammation of the conducting fibers, and there may be cardiogenic shock and myocardial ischemia due to the atherosclerosis, and due to insufficient pumping, there can be an acute acute coronary pulmonale. Similarly, endocrine disturbance in the endocrine system leads to hyperglycemia, very common not only in diabetic but even sometimes in normal people. Dermatological, the very common one are the erythematic rashes, particularly in younger age group. Pardon? Can you hear me?
All the participants are requested to please switch off your mics.
Okay, I think that somebody is talking to me. So, as far as the neurological, the headache is very common, dizziness, and very rarely encephalopathy. These are very rare, but myalgia, anosmia is very common, and stroke, post-COVID stroke, few cases, not much, but few cases. Raised, as far as renal sequelae is concerned, there is a few cases of raised creatinine level, although it was after the treatment, after the taking the proper hydration, it was cured. Some of them have a 1 or 2 episode of hematuria, but it was not as common. So any viral fever, in any viral fever, the liver enzymes are always elevated. So similarly, there may be few cases liver enzymes are elevated, but they are temporary. And gastrointestinal disturbances, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain during and even after there are some episodic and sometimes persistently mild to moderate pain is there, and diarrhea on and off in post-COVID. So in this way, we have already talked about that there may be some, if we divide into two, then there may be respiratory disorder and the systemic disorder. Actually, these, as far as pathological changes is concerned, we cannot divide, but these have been divided for the sake of post-corona OPD, because this will help us. If a person is having the respiratory disorder, like still is sneezing and due to anemia, he may be feeling some not being good, but or some mild pneumonia may be there. There may be some wheezing sounds and all are there. Even after the 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and there may be rhinorrhea and on and off sore throat even after the recovery, and there may be some remnant radiological changes may be there. On the other hand, there may be a fever. So fever speaks about the infection, but even after the infection is gone and there is any opportunistic infection due to so many inflammatory markers are elevated and due to the post-COVID sequelae in fever may come, but it is very mild and on and off. Fatigue
Hello.
is very
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, your slides are not visible, sir. Actually, your screen is sharing, sir.
okay. वो थोड़ा सा हिल गया था गलती से. So the most common one is the dry cough in respiratory system. It is by mistake it has come here. The headache and hypoxemia actually is not as far as the in clinical setup. It may be when the patient is just out of ICU. Or lymphocytopenia, yes, on and off it is. One day it is decreased, then another day it is increased. I don't know why it is so. So in this way, you can see that there is a cytokine storm we have just talked. Apart from that, there is a damage to the beta cells, which are very much burden for the production of the antibodies. So these beta cells damage and cytokine storm give rise to the chances of poor outcome, particularly those who are obese. And actually, they give rise to inflammation, coagulation, chances of coagulation, and hyperglycemia, and the renal impairment, acute and hypertension. But if the people having the comorbidity or in the older age group, then the outcome may be poor. So we have, for the good outcome, we have to control the comorbidity. So in this way, inflammatory markers IL-6, IL-7, IL-22, and CXCL10, they are the inflammatory marker. But this is the pathway actually for understanding how this virus causes the inflammation in the microvessels of the pulmonary or extrapulmonary organs. So the neurological complications are very important. And, this may be damage to the neurons. Actually, every there are chances in each and every uh, viral infection for the damage to the neurons and encephalopathy and all that. But in this COVID, this is due to hypoxia also. So there may be an acute cerebrovascular problem may be there, or rarely encephalitis or mildly. The most common one is the confusion and the cognitive function impairment. but in the later stage sequelae there is so in this way this the aim to show this slide is there, that there is always chances to have any long-term effect on the CNS also. So we should take care about the inflammatory changes. We will talk about the medicine for the later on. So genetic factors as well as the acquired factor both played an important role. Environmental factors like diet, exercise, good diet, balanced diet, good exercise plays a positive role. And the obesity, central adipose deposit, and obesity, it plays a negative role. So in this way, there is an effect of the genetic, environmental, and acquired factors on the insulin directly, and on the insulin resistance particularly. So the insulin resistance then lead to a dyslipidemia, which causes the vascular dysfunction, atrial stiffness, vascular tone, loss of vascular tone is increased, and the flexibility of the vessels is lost, and there is hypertension, and vasodilation is decreased. Again, this way the hypertension will lead to hypertension. Parallelly, there is a sodium retention, and increase in RAS, as we have talked, renin, angiotensin, adulterase system, because this is this regulates the volumes of the blood, and indirect way it regulates the blood pressure. So in this way, we should be care about the. We should take care about the blood pressure in the post COVID sequelae while dealing with the patients of post COVID sequelae in the OPD particularly. So the as far as this there is this publication is there. In this they have shown that this is the publication from the UK, where the tiredness is the most common one. Even in our OPD setup, we have seen that the less of energy and tiredness is the most common one in our OPD also, as far as my personal experience is concerned. So, after the 3 and 4 weeks also, when there is no viral load in the respiratory tract, and but the nasopharyngeal viral load may be there, not viral load, nasopharyngeal virus may be present, but it has no meaning after the 2 week or 10 days. But if the fatigue, dyspnea, anxiety, depression, palpitation, or the sign and symptom of the DVT, also increase in the creatinine, or a person says that there is hair loss. These are the clinical features which may persist even after 4 weeks and 6 weeks, and may be affected up to 12 weeks. This we have talked about, that the virus specific pathophysiological changes, the cause of the post-acute COVID-19. The reasons are these three. We have already talked about that. The immunological aberrations, due to the inflammatory changes in this response to the acute infection and the inflammatory marker. And any disease, this is not particularly that the sequelae or the after effect of the COVID itself. In this way, the COVID is not in the isolated case, but in some other disease also there some sequelae is always expected. This is in the photograph in Hyderabad. There is a lot of concern about the government's concern about the COVID leading to the blurred of vision. Actually, this blurredness of the vision is not isolated, but it is a part of the it is a part of the inflammation in the small vessels. And if this inflammation goes, then the vision will definitely return, because there is no permanent damage or permanent retinopathy. Yes, if we do not take care in time, then there may be some retinopathy. Similarly, after the use of the steroids, there may be some cataract or some opacity may increase. That may be reversible and but sometimes cataractomy may be needed. As far as the common symptoms are concerned, patients may continue to say that body ache, cough, sore throat, difficulty in breathing. These are the common ones we should know. So we should take care of this, and we should tell about the patient. If they are not taking care of these things, we should tell whether they are having such type of complications or. So another problem is that the patients, some of the patients say that they are reinfected. Definitely, there is a reinfection. So the patient will have antibodies after getting infected with coronavirus, but many cases of people getting reinfected post-COVID complications have been reported all over the world. Similarly, many patients have muscle and joint pain and body ache. If not resolved on time, this post-COVID complication may be deadly. So, as the Dr. Kundar Mehta, pulmonologist, Apollo Clinics, said that 1,000 post-COVID patients, including asymptomatic, approximately 50% represented with post-COVID weakness, whereas 7% show sign of lung fibrosis. This carrying of the lung fibrosis is being prevented in allopathic by the steroid. Can we have a good medicine for the prevention of the fibrosis? As far as the while doing work on asthma, so I found one Majune Zeep because the garlic lesson is there. So I think that it can prevent up to some extent. So it can be given for the patient who are supposed to get fibrosis. And may lead to COPD if not treated in time. So while in rare instances, 2 in 1,000 may come with a heart attack or stroke, even less than those having pneumonia after getting infected with coronavirus will require long-term care. These patients should not neglect their health post-COVID. Do regular follow-up and with doctors and follow the guideline. Stay hale and healthy. Actually, some of the patients who recovered from the COVID-19 later on they feel some wheezing and all that. So they should not ignore any sign of pulmonary sign, particularly the chances of getting pneumonia later on. So for this, as far as there is a separate topic of pulmonary rehabilitation. It can be a very long topic, but now we are just reminding that moreover there is recovery phase. The doctor suggests for breathing exercise very common, and after monitoring the breathing pattern, oxygen saturation, and how much the patient can walk or have a breathing exercise without feeling the breathlessness. This is very, very important. That is, oxygen saturation should be monitored. How much if we want to have a breathing exercise, so a safe breathing size, and how much he can be, should not be stressed that he should feel. So this exercise should be tailor-made for a person. If a person can just have a prolonged breathing in difficulty, extreme tiredness or weakness, muscle or lung weakness, numbness, inability to walk, and numbness while walking, mood change or depression, persistent diarrhea, rapid weight loss, and other digestive disorder that should be taken care and trouble in thinking or concentrating, dizziness, confusion. These are the neurological signs. In this Khabira, I will come later on the Unani treatment for this. A short-term memory loss or loss of sense, bruise and rashes on the skin, loss of appetite, taste and the smell, and disturbed sleep pattern, abnormal heart rate. So there may be some permanent scarring of the lung and deterioration in lung capacity and inflammatory changes in the body. So we should take care of it, and the weakening of the nerves and muscle in the body and reduction of the heart function. There may be a kidney or liver damage after the COVID, and abnormally high sugar level, we have seen in the pathology. Then there may be a chance of heart attack or the stroke due to increased risk of blood clot or formation and inflammatory changes, and weakened immune system, leaving a person for the opportunistic infection, which became third. So even after testing negative, it might take weeks or months for a patient to fully recover and feel 100% active and healthy again. It is also important to note that the COVID infection may silently affect the patient's lung, heart, and kidney, as we have already discussed. And therefore, it is the need of the comprehensive program that would enable complete clinical assessment of the patient by team of specialists who shall assess the patient health in the entirety and ensure that the patient gets timely diagnosis and treatment and recover completely. Here, the specialist means that the person who are conducting the post-COVID disease, they may be Ayush doctor or allopathic doctor, but because the COVID-19 is a new disease, so those who are dealing with the post-COVID sequelae, I am calling them the specialists. The intent of the program is there may be a recovery program. We should, with the help of our fellow, we should have a complete program that which patient, which organ of the patient is affected most. Now coming to the organ-wise Unani treatment. So the respiratory symptoms we have discussed, and we have discussed the physiopathology of the respiratory system and how the COVID-19 affects the respiratory system most. So the Glycyrrhiza libra aslosus or bloody you call commonly, it is very good. It has some phytochemicals which are antiviral and which protects the lungs parenchyma, the lining of the lungs, and it is used, generally it is used to combat the cough, cold, and even the bronchial asthma. So either this can be used with other ingredients. Commonly, it is a part of the Unani Jashanda actually. So another Hoxi is antipyretic and it acts as an expectorant also. So it can be used, but it is not boiled. After the decoction is prepared for a single decoction, it may be combination of some herbs. The Hoxi, they are a small seed, they are put after the decoction is prepared. Similarly, the knob, it is a very good herb for these are the berries, Zizicus vulgaris berries. So these are immunomodulator, and so they are called soothing the blood because they are somewhat anti-allergic or immunomodulator. So they are used in case of uh, arrhythmia and some arrhythmia and some other skin diseases, as well as for the as a cough syrup. Unnab alone can be taken. There is a Sharbat Unnab, so Sharbat Unnab alone can be taken, or it can be added in the decoction which contain asbestos and Ravzabar Gulmanaksha. So, Zanjabil or gingerbread, it is again a very good anti-inflammatory and antiviral, and it is being used for cough and cold for this thousands of years, and it can be used in the as a single, or it can be used with the honey or the use of the adrak or the fresh ginger, and some few drops with honey can be taken. And as far as tradition is concerned, in the whole North India, during the winter season, and there is always chances for the viral infection, cold and coryza. So this is the tea of the ginger tea or adrak chai. It is always available in each and every. Kauzaba is a part of decoction. It can be the leaves of the gauzaba are available, dry leaves. It can be added with the althea, khatmi, and sapista, dicordia, 5 to 10 numbers, and the again the aslusus, that is the lati, it can be added, and now we have just discussed about the properties of the knob. So these all together can be taken as a decoction. So another remedy for the respiratory symptom, post-COVID respiratory symptom may be the Kakada Singhi powder and alone, or the Kakada Singhi with the Balela, this can be taken with honey, or some adrak juice can be taken it, and pills can be made. So it is very old therapy for cough and cold. Mostly it is very common in the South India. So again, this zanjabil can be taken. This Jawarish zanjabil is there. Sharbat Zufa Murakkab. Sharbat Zufa Murakkab is a product of IMPCL, and it is people like it, and so many people has been relieved their post COVID cough and pharyngitis. So Sharbat Arusa, you know, Sharbat Arusa, either it can be taken, it can be prepared at home, because ulcer leaves are available everywhere. Triafenazole is for the quick action. So if we are having a running nose and we are having cough due to postnasal tickling, so or postnasal discharge, so triafenazole is the quick fix for that. For GIT disturbance, there may be diarrhea or pain, some general fatigue due to malnutrition or malfunction in GIT. For that, the Archibadian give the quick relief from the pain and feeling of bloating. The Jawarish Podina and Podina is the mint, which is very good for the digestion. And Jawarish Zanjabil, particularly if we are having JERD, so the persons who are having already having JERD, their JERD is increased after the COVID-19, because stomach become irritable more. So those who are having less of appetite, Jawarish Narayan has been proved to be good. It is IMPCL product. These all are IMPCL products, and they are doing well in our OPDs. Jawarish study for the burning sensation, retro-external burning due to gastritis, and Jawarish Kamini when there is indigestion and bloating of the stomach. As a hepatoprotective, Majmoon Davidulwal is the best one. It can be taken with ARP is nothing but distilled of Mako and Fekasbi. These are this is very good remedy for the liver if it is affected by the any virus, let it may be viral hepatitis or post-COVID-19. Jawarish Zaruni Sada is a nephroprotective. It can be taken again with Mako or Kasmi, or it can be taken without directly. So Nervine tonic for forgetfulness and headache. One can take the Familia Aberration Sada, because it takes care of the microcirculation of the brain, and Familia Gauza Sada and other familias can be taken as well. The signs and symptoms are there, but Familia Gauza Sada as a Nervine tonic, and Familia Aberration Sada or Familia Aberration, the mustard wala can be taken for the better function of the better function of the central nervous system, particularly if there is any effect on the smoking effect on the system. For chronic fever, Sharbat-e-Khasi even for the children, Sharbat-e-Khasi can be given for fever after COVID-19, and those who are having diabetes, Mubarak may be given. For those who are having different signs, symptoms, but they are having the inflammatory markers are there, inflammatory markers are raised. So they come in the OPD that their DCRP is raised, but why that is raised? Because just post-COVID 19 CRP is raised. Other inflammatory marker like D-dimer and ferritin may be raised. For those, Majun and Suranjan, because Suranjan contains the colchicine, and you know that Dr. K.K. Agrawal, unfortunately, he died. He will be remembered always for guiding the so many people daily. So K.K. Agrawal always used to say that colchicine 500 mg OD or BD may be taken for reducing the inflammatory markers. So, but if he was knowing that there is a Majun Suranjan, actually this is S Suranjan, sorry for S is missing. It is Majun Suranjan actually, sorry for this spelling. And Majun Asir or Majun Asir Aviran. So Majun Suranjan is colchicine is there in Suranjan. So instead of colchicine, Majun Suranjan can be taken because it is very safe and it can be taken for a long time. Another important Majun is the Majun Seer, because seer is a lesson or the garlic. So garlic is having allicin, which lowers the inflammatory marker. It lowers the TNF alpha, MCP. It is already published. So it lowers all the inflammatory markers, including the CRP, ferritin, as well as the D-dimer. So I request all the Unani students, if they are available, they should use more and more Majun Suranjan when there is inflammatory markers are increased or there is involvement of the joint, because we are using Majun Suranjan for arthritis, different type of arthritis. So, and Majun Seer, it really it affects this lipidemia, and it will lower the chances of increasing cholesterol and triglyceride, particularly the triglyceride, because it is very hard to reduce the triglyceride. So Majun Asir can be used for in post-COVID cases, so that their dyslipidemia is there, then that can take care, and it will take care of their microcirculation also. Secondly, the allicin have the antiviral property also, so it can be given during the COVID-19, not only after recovery, but during that it can be given. So in its post-COVID management protocol, the health ministry said that the first follow-up visit for a recovered patient should be within 7 days after the discharge. or after the treatment is over. So definitely not by physical presence, but we can have a call and ask how the patient is feeling. Is he having any sign symptom? If he is having, then we can better tackle these sign symptoms with Ayush medicine. So they have prescribed the subsequent treatment follow-up visit may be with the nearest qualified allopathy Ayush practitioner. As far as the post-COVID sequelae is concerned, if there is no emergency, then Ayush medication may be more helpful for them, as we have discussed this now. So one important thing is there that the gargling should be done not only for post-COVID sequelae, but for the prevention of reinfection. Ministry itself recommended the gargling with the turmeric and the salt. So I was reading that turmeric, curcumin derivatives prevent the entry of the virus. They down-regulate the ACE inhibitor. They down-regulate the MTP or SS. If we don't regulate either the ACE inhibitor or the MTP or SS, so we can prevent the entry of the virus into the cells. Actually, this study was done that the turmeric, the compound from the turmeric curcumin. So curcumin derivative was used to prevent the cancer, particularly prostate cancer, because in developing the prostate cancer, the TMPRSS2 receptors are very important. So if we can downregulate them, we can inhibit them, then we can prevent the cancer, particularly the prostate cancer. So in this way, because the starting, we have seen that the entry of the corona 2 virus, novel corona 2 virus into the cell is by the ACE2 inhibitor, and it is further facilitated by TMPRSS2. So if we can inhibit the TMPRSS2, then definitely there is a difficulty to the virus to enter into the cell through ACE2 inhibitor. So this study we can just use as a repurposing. So in this way, this ministry's advice for gargling with turmeric salt is proved to be very, very important. Thanks to all. And I think that this was a little talk about it, and it was just a practical experience. If some students want to ask some question on their difficulty while doing in post-COVID OPDs, then the organizer permit them, they can ask 1-2 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir. Now the session is open for question and answer round. If any participant have any query or any question,
Sir,
to
am
ask,
I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Dr. Amir Faisal from Bhopal.
Welcome, sir.
Honorable sir, I am taking this opportunity that you are being a well-versed scientist. All the officials and dignitaries and colleagues are welcome. Sir, during my army posting, late 90s, I was posted at Kasol Valley of Himachal Pradesh. So there comes too many Israelis over the spiritual sessions. So
Yes.
one of the doctor, her name was Rosa Brownie. So I met her. So the scenario is that -0 temperature all around the ice formation, and they used to sit for a spiritual session. So what she suggested me that one important factor as a medical fraternity, serotonin and pineal glands in the brain setup to release the oxygen and all the works and this and that. Now, as far as the COVID is concerned, so basic in one word, if I will explain the low carrying capacity of oxygen or inhaling or whatever the situation.
Yes. Hello. You are not audible.
Is it okay, sir? Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
now audible. Yes.
It was some kind of net problem. I want to ask that crab soap was recommended from that scientist, and nowadays Russian and Ireland scientists are also giving as a dietotherapy to their indoor patients. Is that okay? Crab soap,
No, crab.
kekda soup, sir.
Because we are using for that as a sartan muharrak, because crabs mean sartan muharrak. We are using, and we are having a sartan kafuri for tuberculosis when there was no anti-tubercular drugs were not available. So we were treating tuberculosis with that.
Sir.
So that may be some energy giving or some strengthening to the alveoli of the lungs.
Okay, sir. Because nowadays over the internet, Ireland scientists and Russians are doing that. That's why I remember during your lecture, I got that point. So I encourage to ask. Thank you very much, sir. It was a very nice selected words. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
Any other participant who want to ask anything, you may also write in the chat box. Any participant who have any query, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Shaista from RRIUM.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to know whether we can use Mao Shair for post-COVID conditions.
Yes, ma'am. Mao Shair, it is for catastrophic condition when there is a patient is having low energy or very weak. It is used there. Mao Shair is used there, and you can use that one. You can use it is a energy giving diet also. It is you can say it is a dietotherapy.
Sir, but it is cold in temperament, and those suffering are already having a decrease in their Hararate Garizia. So will it be okay to use a medicine that is cold in its temperament?
That is there. That is there. But you know that temperament-wise you can judge, because this is always your duty to see what is the temperament of the medicine, what is the temperament of a person. The temperament of a person who is and temperament of the disease. So the disease of the pulmonary diseases always said to be of phlegmatic origin, and phlegmatic origin disease are said to be cold. So, but if we are using other medicine, for example, if you are using the misk and something which is not cold, so only one adding just one cold as a vehicle or one cold thing, it doesn't affect much. but you should not use all the COVID medicine.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
You can use another medicine for instant energy. There are some for example, Arka Musk is there, Arka Ambar is there. So they give energy to the person, but they are not the food. They are just the medicine. But while the mouse is food as well as medicine.
Any other participant who have any query? Please unmute yourself and ask the question. Participants can also write in the chat box.
Yes, some two good questions are coming. Yeah.
Sir, may I one more minute, please?
Yeah.
Dr. Amir from Bhopal. Sir, over the mouse.
Hello.
A young scientist. Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible, sir? Am I
Yeah.
audible, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Regarding the mouse share, I want just a few inputs. One of the young scientists who working with the technology and mouse share, and also over that some Guruji Thandai, which is Badam, some shake. What they say is that inflammatory means to diffuse some fire. So they are working and they are giving the patients over they are working over these topics also. That's why I used this input.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. So what you want to ask from me? Hello. Hello, Dr. Faisal.
Hello,
And
Dr.
want to
Amir
doubt.
Faisal.
Yes.
Sir, please continue, sir.
I think there is some problem in the signal. Network problem is there.
Okay, now I think there is no other question from the participant side. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your experience and giving us insight about Unani management in post-COVID complications. Now we are towards the end of our today's session. Now I request Dr. Varun Gupta from Rashtriya Ayurved Vidyapeeth to propose a formal vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anu, for giving me this opportunity. And I am really honored to give a vote of thanks on this third webinar, exploring the fact post-COVID-19 sequelae and Unani medicines. I'm grateful to the expert speaker, Professor Munawar Hussain Kaji sir, for sharing knowledge, information on capability of Unani medicines in COVID-19 pandemic and guidance in developing awareness and fighting against COVID-19 consequences. I may like to express our sincere thanks to the VAD, Rajesh Kotecha sir, Secretary, Ministry of Ayush, Shri P.K. Pathak sir, Special Secretary, Ministry of Ayush, Shri P.N. Ranjit Kumar sir, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Ayush, and Dr. Manoj Nesri sir, Advisor, Ayurveda, Ministry of Ayush, for their blessings, potential leadership, and directions, even on their tedious schedule. I may like to express our sincere thanks to the Director General CCRUM, Professor Asim Ali Khan, for his continuous encouragement and inspiration towards conducting this program. I am also thankful to the Director RAV, Dr. Anupam Srivastava sir, for his motivation, efforts to bring valuable and important subjects for deliberation to us. I am also thankful to all Ayush flag holders, experts, scholars, and volunteers across the country who voluntarily offering their services for a noble cause to mitigate this pandemic, who joined this program and provided us warm moral supports to make this program successful. I would congratulate to the team RAV for their continuous efforts coordination and prop up to bring this program a big success and make life for wide population. Thank you all again. And namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, Jai Hind.
And the meeting has ended. All the participants may leave the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.